All right, hey y'all, it's cold as all get out in here. I am going to get this information out. I just came off my second shift and I have been making a lot of discoveries about the 3iAtlas. So I just wanted to do a quick update video as quickly as I can. I'm freezing and I just want to get this information out. So please like and subscribe. And let's get this going. So the path of 3iAtlas, a story of passage. 3iAtlas didn't enter our awareness randomly. It arrived along a very specific corridor of space, moving in from the direction of Sagittarius, the region of the sky that already points us beyond the solar system. Sagittarius isn't a place of planets and orbits, it's a direction that faces outward, towards the dense star fields and deep structure of the Milky Way. It's a side of the sky where outside it becomes visible. Now, I just accumulated a couple more notes, and I want to pull from that. All right, so all right, so the galactic center is the rotational and gravitational core of the Milky Way. So 3iAtlas came into our not our awareness. It came into our solar system through Sagittarius. And that is where the galactic center is. It is the rotational and gravitational core of the Milky Way, located in the direction of Sagittarius, and its heart sits Sagittarius A supermassive black hole around which our entire galaxy turns. So in literal terms, it's the center of mass. The galactic center is the center of mass. The organizing gravity, the point everything in our galaxy ultimately orients around. And symbolically across cultures, the galactic center has been experienced as the cosmic heart, the womb of stars, the fire at the center of the wheel. In the medicine wheel, according to the Native Americans, the source of law, order, and return. It wasn't seen as destructive, it was seen as where things are remembered. Sagittarius, a sign associated with the direction, was never about optimism or travel for fun. It was about meaning, orientation, law, story that holds a people together. That's why Sagittarius governs philosophy, religion, myth, moral frameworks, long journeys, because they require meaning to survive. The Galactic Center was the source of those stories. So in Jungian depth psychology lens, psychologically, the galactic center functions as the organizing center of meaning. Not ego, not personality, but the place the psyche orients toward when old narratives fail. It represents the deep background gravity that gives life direction. The why underneath beliefs, the inner axis that holds coherence when structures collapse. When attention is pulled towards Sagittarius, the galactic center, people don't ask, what should I do? They ask, what does it mean? That's not panic, it's orientation seeking. Seasonal and nervous system angle, Sagittarius season coincides with rapidly diminishing daylight in the northern hemisphere. When visual certainty fades, the nervous system compensates by seeking meaning, strengthening belief systems, turning towards the story, law, philosophy, and myth. So the galactic center becomes psychologically active, not because of energy, but because humans need orientation when the horizon goes dark. It is adaptive. Why it matters right now. When something passes through the Sagittarian field, especially from outside our system like 3iAtlas, it symbolically activates orientation questions, belief, re-evaluation, story collapse, and renewal. The difference between borrowed meaning and lived truth. Not because the object causes it, but because it coincides with a phase where humans are already I don't know what that is. Renegotiating. It was a misspell. All right, so the galactic center represents the axis of meaning, the place the human psyche orients towards when the old stories no longer explain reality. It's not where answers live, it's where direction is remembered. Ugh, I'm gonna have to get comfortable. It's so cold. I've got my boots on. I'm gonna have to take my boots off and hide them in my electric blanket. Give me 1 second. Oh my gosh. It is so cold. I don't want to be out here, but this is important. Okay, excuse me. Sorry. I know that was shaky. All right. So, anywho, all right. So, 3iAtlas arrived along a very specific corridor of space, moving in from the direction of Sagittarius, the region of the sky that already points us beyond the solar system. And so it came in through Sagittarius in the galactic center, and it literally is following 5 degrees of our ecliptic plane. And so I started, I've really been sitting here thinking about how I want to describe the meaning of 3iAtlas and where it is and the degrees and December 18th due to it being the closest to Earth. And so I already made 2 videos, but I'm going to back it up a little bit because I've been sitting here thinking a lot more about it. And so here we are. I am backtracking a little bit, talking about where it came from, the galactic center, the sun. So it came in through the galactic center, and I will explain about Jupiter. It didn't really pass by Jupiter. The first initiation was the sun because the sun pulled it in. So I'm going to describe all of this in an astro-psychological, hermetic. My foot is so cold. I got to get that under control. Okay. So it arrived on a very specific corridor of space, moving in from the direction of Sagittarius, the region of the sky that already points us beyond the solar system. Sagittarius isn't a place of planets and orbits. It's a direction that faces outward, toward the dense star fields and deep structure of the Milky Way. It's the side of the sky where outside becomes visible, from where its path angled inward towards the sun. The sun is always the first gate. Nothing becomes part of our story until it passes the sun's light. It's not just symbolic, it's physical. The sun reveals, illuminates, and defines reference. When 3i crossed into the sun's domain, it moved from being just another interstellar object into something observable from Earth. That's the moment it became real to us. So this is literally, metaphorically and physically. After the sun, the path carried it past Mercury's zone, the region of measurement, tracking data, and calculation. This is where human attention kicked in fully. Orbits were plotted, velocities calculated, comparisons made. Mercury's territory is where we name things, log them, and try to understand what category they belong in. That's why the conversation accelerated here. Not because the object changed, but because our capacity of it to track it did. From there, the path continued inward through the inner system, not stopping, not orbiting, not interacting beyond gravity's brief handshake. It did not belong to any planet it passed. It didn't slow down to be claimed. It didn't curve to stay. And so then on December 18th through the 19th, it will reach its closest relevance to Earth. Not collision, not danger, not drama, simply proximity. This is the Earth gate. This is the point where the object, or 3iAtlas, is closest to our position, our instruments, and our perspective. It's the moment when something passing through the space is nearest to the human frame of reference, not physically close in everyday terms, but close enough that attention naturally peaks. After that point, the story changes again. Once it passes Earth, Earth's zone 3iAtlas does not linger. It continues on its outbound trajectory, moving away from the inner solar system, away from the sun, away from the familiar planetary lanes. Its path bends outward again, carrying it past the remaining planetary distances and back toward interstellar space. It does not loop, it does not return, it does not stay. It entered from the outside of our system. It passed the sun first, then Mercury's domain of measurement, then Earth's window of awareness. And now it is almost already out, on its way out. That's the entire story. No interruption, no capture, no message required. Just a traveler moving through a solar system that happened to be looking up at the right moment. And that's why this moment feels absolutely phenomenal because nothing about its path asks us to act or believe. It simply passed through the light, crossed our line of sight, and continued on. So this is going to be breaking down all right, so the sequence. I started looking into the sequence. So it came through Sagittarius in the Galactic Center. That's where it came from. And then it passed by the sun, which represents the primary gate, the illumination and detectability. This is where it becomes observable and meaningful to us. And then it went by Mercury's domain, measurement and tracking, orbital calculations, classification, and data refinement. And then it is going to be closest to Earth December 18th through the 19th, closest approach to Earth's frame of reference, peak attention, and peak observation. Outbound trajectory, leaving the inner solar system, continuing back towards the interstellar space. So, I want to explain this as gates. So you can look at it like it came in through Sagittarius, it activated the sun gate first, and then Mercury gate, and then it will be activating the Earth gate. So I want to break down those gates and what they mean on a deeper level than I've been hearing on YouTube. It's very different, I think very different. There are some similarities. All right, so let's break down the sun, winter, superego, and the light that remains. Okay, so the sun is not emotion, it's not desire, it's not reaction. The sun is orientation through light. It governs identity, conscience, moral direction, the principle that says this is who I am when no one is watching. And during the winter solstice corridor, the sun is doing its most serious work of the year, not expanding, not shining outward, clarifying. Why the sun matters most at the solstice. At the winter solstice, external light is at its minimum. So the psyche compensates. When the world gets darker, the inner sun takes over. This is where the super ego activates, not as punishment, but as orientation. So I look at this like collectively we are working on our super ego. This is activating deeper layers of ourselves. The super ego is simply internalized values, ethical clarity, the ability to self-govern, knowing what is right without enforcement. Winter awakens that function. That's why this season has always been associated with law, vows, elders, review, and judgment without spectacle. The sun at this time doesn't ask, how do I feel? It asks, what am I responsible for now? Sun in late Sagittarius, December 18th through the 21st. The sun here is shedding light on belief itself. Not beliefs you talk about, beliefs you live by. Late Sagittarius strips belief down to its bones. What still guides action, what collapses under pressure, what sounds good but doesn't hold up in the dark. This is not optimism, it's integrity testing. The sun here exposes hollow authority, borrowed morality, inherited narratives that no longer guide behavior. Collectively, this looks like loss of patience for empty stories, discomfort with performative certainty, and respect shifting towards quiet integrity. Individually, it feels like I can't live like this anymore. I know what I need to do, even if I don't want to. This doesn't align, and I can't unsee it. Where 3i intersects the sun. 3i does not cause this, it coincides with it, and that's the point. 3i appears during a moment when the sun is already interrogating belief, conscious is already awake, inner authority is already being reclaimed. So 3i doesn't become a message, it becomes a reference point. Something that passes through awareness while the sun is asking, what light am I actually living by? And the answer is not philosophical, it's behavioral. So healthy versus unhealthy sun expression. This is the first gate, so we've already gone through this gate, but I wanted to break it down before I got into the other ones. I'm not going to get all of them done today. I will continue this I will continue this breakdown in the next couple of days. Do not have enough time. All right, so unhealthy sun is the shadow superego, moral rigidity, righteousness, judgment without compassion. I'm right, therefore unjustified, enforcing truth instead of embodying it. A healthy sun, an integrated superego, quiet ethical clarity, consistency between values and action, self-governance, leadership without dominance, doing the right thing without needing validation. This is the sun maturing, not louder, not brighter, but cleaner. Action through illumination, not force. The sun does not act like Mars. It doesn't push, it reveals. And once something is revealed, action follows naturally. That's why decisions made during this window feel inevitable, sober, undramatic, and non-negotiable. People don't explode, they withdraw consent. They stop participating in what no longer aligns. That's sun-led action. The winter superego lesson. We are going into the winter season, December 21st, the winter solstice. Winter teaches you don't need more light, you need truer light. The sun at the solstice says whatever survives the dark is real. Whatever requires constant reassurance is not. That's the test. This is a sun moment, not because something dramatic happens, but because conscious wakes up. As the light diminishes outside, the inner sun takes over. Belief gets tested, authority shifts inward, and action becomes quieter, cleaner, and more deliberate. 3i doesn't arrive to tell us anything. It arrives while the sun is already asking, what light do you actually live by when the world goes dark? And whatever doesn't align with that simply stops receiving energy. So now I'm going to get into the second gate of Mercury. The mind at the threshold, and this is by far absolutely fascinating. Oh my gosh, it's freezing. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. This is very important, so that's why I'm here in the freaking freezing cold. Please like and subscribe. Hopefully you're enjoying this. To me, this is absolutely fascinating. I don't know anyone else talking about it like this, and that is just how my mind rolls. So, anywho, Mercury. Before anything shifts emotionally, before desire recalibrates, before action locks in, the mind goes first. I should have written down the dates of when 3i went by the sun and Mercury. I did not do that. I apologize. You could Google it on your own. All right, so where was I? Before anything shifts emotionally, before desire recalibrates, before action locks in, the mind goes first. So we're talking about 3iAtlas literally going by Mercury in a physical and psychological, astrological way. So this is really cool. All right, so that's Mercury. Mercury governs perception, language, explanation, pattern recognition, the stories we use to stay oriented. And during December 18th through the 21st, Mercury is moving through Sagittarius. So we have a pile up in Sagittarius. We have the sun. Oh, I have notes. We have the sun, Venus. Let me pull up. I didn't pull this up. I wasn't going to bring it up, but My gloves are making it hard to scroll on my computer. All right, so we have the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus all in Sagittarius, December 19th. Mars in Capricorn, Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, Uranus, Taurus, and Pluto in Aquarius. So this video specifically is recapping the Sun, and we are talking about Mercury. Mercury in the current sky, actually. Okay, so this is not a detail-oriented Mercury. Mercury in Sagittarius currently in the sky. This is a big arc Mercury. It wants coherence, not data. Direction, not certainty. A map, not proof. So when something like 3iAtlas enters collective awareness during this window, it doesn't hit emotion first. It hits interpretation. So why Mercury is the first point of contact. Mercury is how the psyche asks, what is this? Where does this fit? How do I explain this to myself? 3iAtlas doesn't arrive with a ready-made story. It doesn't confirm existing frameworks. It doesn't slot neatly into inherited narratives. So Mercury's usual tools stall. Not because something is wrong, but because the mind is being asked to widen its orientation instead of forcing explanation. This is why Mercury activates first. The mind tries to organize before the heart reacts. I will break down Venus and Sagittarius and how 3iAtlas collectively impacts us spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, but not in this video. So Mercury in Sagittarius thinks in trajectories, not fragments. It asks, what does this mean in the long arc? What does this change the story I'm living inside? What belief am I operating from, and does it still work? So I'm really starting to look at this like we have Pluto in Aquarius. We are transitioning from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and 3iAtlas has certainly sped up that process, in my opinion. So during this window, people don't just ask what 3iAtlas is. They ask, what does this say about where we are? What does this challenge in our worldview? What assumptions are no longer stable? That's Mercury doing its job. What 3i pressures in Mercury? 3i doesn't overwhelm the mind. It removes narrative shortcuts. Mercury can't explain it away, mythologize it easily, reduce it to ideology, and use it to reinforce identity stories. So Mercury adapts, or our mind, our thinking and communication. It moves from explanation to orientation, certainty to curiosity, and narrative to pattern recognition. This is a Mercury upgrade, not a disruption. So I do hold the belief that 3i is upgrading each planet out there as well as each planet in here collectively and individually. So collective Mercury effects. So you may notice people talking more, but with fewer conclusions, conversations circulating meaning instead of facts, theorizing without urgency, silence where there used to be overconfidence, a pause before opinion. So we're talking about the 18th through the 21st window, and then a lot of our planets are going to be moving into Capricorn, which is a whole different type of energy. This is not confusion, it's cognitive humility. So we are really hammering on Sagittarian energy because that is where our pileup is. Mercury is learning to hold open questions without panicking. Polarity at the Mercury level. Unhealthy expression. Compulsive explaining, over-theorizing, mental looping, and filling silence with certainty. Healthy expression is spacious thinking, pattern recognition without forcing meaning, curiosity without attachment, willingness to not conclude. An integrated Mercury. The ability to think clearly without closure, orientation without narrative addiction, and perception without projection. Why this matters before Venus and Mars, which I will break down later. Mercury sets the terms for everything that follows. If the mind can't tolerate uncertainty, desire becomes anxious, attachment becomes defensive, and action becomes reactive. But when Mercury relaxes into orientation, instead of explanation, Venus chooses more honestly. Mars acts more cleanly. So this Mercury moment is not loud, it's preparatory. It's the mind clearing space. So the rest of the chart can move forward without distortion. So before anything changes emotionally or relatively, Mercury moves fast. And right now the mind is learning to orient without forcing a story. So Mercury is going from the 9 degree on the 19th to the 10th degree in Sagittarius on the 20th to the 12th degree of Sagittarius on the 21st, Mercury. So Mercury changes signs every 2 to 3 weeks. The full cycle is 88 days. We have 3 to 4 retrogrades per year. What it affects: thinking, communication, perception, and narrative. Psychological theme: how the mind processes reality. So Mercury in Sagittarius. I need the truth, not the details. Mercury in Sagittarius doesn't want nuance. It wants meaning. Collectively, this shows people connecting dots quickly, impatience with overanalysis, a surge in storytelling, theorizing, and explaining. Psychologically, the mind is racing ahead of facts. Intuition leads cognition, and people speak before they fully processed. This is not misinformation necessarily. It's meaning seeking under pressure. Now, I am an Aquarian mind, so I have to prepare myself for hours and days before I do a presentation like this. That's how my mind works. Sagittarius, on the other hand, they're very tactical. Think Ian Carroll. He's like tactically figuring out his thought process and questions. He literally live streams all the time. He is working with people and his own process. He hasn't come to any conclusions yet. So Sagittarius energy is very tactical. It's like a fiery tornado ripping through stuff and doesn't mind getting messy. So that is how Sag energy works. So I do admire it because I am not that way. I am very like precise. I'm very Saturnian. I've got so many Capricorn planet. I'm very Saturnian, so I don't work like that. But more power to you. I love it, actually. So the psyche is trying to orient itself fast because if I understand the direction, I can tolerate uncertainty. Psychologically, Sagittarius governs belief systems, meaning making, moral frameworks, truth versus story, the narrative that justifies behavior. Sagittarius is the sign that asks. They're so witty. They're so witty in the mind and physically. What am I living for, and does this story still hold? So when you get the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus in Sagittarius, like we do in our chart, our collective, what's going on, where our planets are collectively right now, the psyche does not tolerate half-truths, emotional evasion, relational ambiguity, stories that no longer match lived reality. This is why people feel compelled to say things, unable to pretend, restless in stagnant relationships, allergic to BS. 3iAtlas Mercury update. Mind, meaning, signal, and interpretation. What Mercury represents psychologically. Mercury is how reality is processed, not what reality is. It governs perception, interpretation, language, signal, voice versus noise, how the mind organizes uncertainty. Mercury answers the question, what do I do with what I am perceiving? Why 3i directly affects Mercury. So it confronts cognition, narrative formation, and explanatory frameworks. This is pure Mercury territory. My computer is starting to get extremely cold. I hope it doesn't die. So It confronts, okay, so I just said that. This is pure Mercury territory. 3i functions as a non-symbolic stimulus. It does not arrive with myth. It does not demand belief. It does not explain itself. So the mercurial mind can't do its usual job. That's the disruption, the core Mercury disruption. Mercury is used to categorizing, naming, contextualizing, fitting data into existing models. 3iAtlas does not fit existing mercurial bins. I don't want to get into, is it a comet? Is it not a comet? It just does not fit existing mercurial bins. So the mind stalls. Psychologically, this produces looping and analysis, narrative inflation, premature conclusions, compulsive theorizing, and meaning-seeking anxiety. This is not necessarily confusion. It's a system update failure. Mercury in Sagittarius and the 3i dynamics. With Mercury in Sagittarius, the mind wants coherence, direction, a what does this mean for us answer. Mercury, I've got Saturn on my mind. Sagittarius Mercury hates ambiguity, partial data, and unanswered whys. So 3i hits exactly where Sagittarius Mercury is weakest. It offers data without purpose. This creates big theories, sweeping explanations, philosophical overreach, and belief inflation. Not because people are stupid, but because Sagittarius Mercury says, if I know the direction, I can tolerate uncertainty. 3iAtlas refuses to give the direction. What 3i is teaching Mercury quietly. This is the real update. Old Mercury function goes from interpret to explain to conclude to stabilize. The new Mercury function is observe, track, hold uncertainty, and reframe from narrative closure. That's a massive psychological shift. It is, gosh darn it. My computer is starting to stall out because it's cold. It's the difference between meaning making and pattern literacy. So in older ages, omens spoke through symbolism. In the Aquarian transition, omens speak through system stress. And so omen is like the Native American type of term. 3i is not an omen saying this will happen. It's an omen saying your interpretive framework is insufficient. That's a Mercury omen. Individual level effects, Mercury update in people. People may notice difficulty articulating what they think, talking in circles, saying something feels off without clarity, mistrust of official explanations and fringe ones, mental fatigue without emotional cause. Healthy response, slow thinking, fewer conclusions, better questions, and tolerance for not knowing. Unhealthy response is absolutism, belief addiction, obsessive decoding, and narrative warfare. Collective Mercury lesson. The collective mercurial lesson is not everything that enters awareness requires immediate explanation. That's new for humanity. 3i isn't challenging what we believe, it's challenging how fast we think we need answers. All right, so when Mercury meets Venus in Sagittarius, the mind and desire and truth under pressure. Between December 18th and the 21st, the collective mind and the collective heart are standing in the same terrain, asking the same question from two different angles. Mercury in Sagittarius is trying to understand the story. Venus in Sagittarius is trying to feel whether the story is worth living. I think it's so fascinating that 3iAtlas came in from Sagittarius constellation, and it's literally flying by Earth and like see you later, while most of our planets are in Sagittarius. That is like really wild to me. All right, so Venus in Sagittarius is trying to feel whether the story is worth living, and that's why I wanted to break it down like this. This is not a quiet transit. This is not a private one. This is the part of winter where truth starts talking out loud. Good luck getting a Sag to stay quiet. If this Mercury in Sag. If this is my life, does it make sense? Is the question we ask ourselves. Mercury here thinks in arcs. Thinks in arcs, not details. Sagittarius has extroverted sensing, cognitive function, not introverted sensing. So it's not all about the details like Virgo. It's all about the let's explore and figure things out and have a crappy memory and forget everything. It's all about the meaning and the adventure. It's hilarious. All right, so Mercury here thinks in arcs, not necessarily details. It's less concerned with what happened and more concerned with what it means. All right, so these degrees, we've got 9 degrees on the 19th in Sagittarius for Mercury, and then the 10th degree on December 20th, and then the 12th degree of Sagittarius on the 21st. So these degrees sit in the early middle Sagittarius terrain, the philosopher crossing into the preacher. This mind, my Vesta, the only thing I have in Sag is my Vesta, so that might be coming out here. So the mind is no longer gathering data, it's forming conclusions in the 9th house. That's my sacred fire. That's my preaching. No, I'm not really preaching. Psychologically, this looks like sudden clarity, pattern recognition, impatience with nuance, the urge to say it plainly, intolerance for circular conversations. This is the mind saying, if I know the direction, I can tolerate uncertainty. So the mind, I need the truth, not the details. All right, so I think I was moving around information and I accidentally double added that one in here. So let me see what else I have to say. I'm not going to try to repeat myself too much. All right, so how the collective mind processes truth at the winter threshold. Mercury in Sagittarius does not think line by line. It thinks in arcs. It doesn't ask, is this precise? It asks, is this true enough to orient my life? During this window, the mind is not interested in refinement. It is interested in direction. When visibility drops, seasonally, emotionally, and collectively, cognition compensates by reaching for meaning. This is not careless thinking, it's survival level sense making. The psyche is trying to answer one urgent question. If I know where this is going, I can tolerate not knowing everything yet. That's Mercury in Sagittarius. All right, so now I'm going to get into the Sabian symbols. I am getting absolutely freezing, so I'm trying to wrap this up as quickly as I can. Thank you so much for being here. I seriously appreciate the new subscribers. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get cracking here. I am freezing. All right, so Mercury at the 9th degree in Sagittarius, the Sabian symbol. So the quotation is, a mother leading her small child step by step up a steep stairway. This degree describes guided cognition. Psychologically, this is the mind realizing I can't leap all the way to certainty, but I can take the next step. This is not arrogance of knowing. This is the humility of learning while moving. God, that is so Sag. To a degree, it depends on, what are you conscious or not? All right, psychological meaning. Thought is being escorted, not forced. Intuition leads, logic follows. The mind accepts partial clarity instead of freezing. This degree often shows up when people suddenly get something they couldn't articulate before. Now, these degrees, these Sabian symbols are where that's Virgo. Okay, so these Sabian symbols are for Mercury specifically on December 18th through the 21st. That's what I'm doing. I've gone through a ton of notes, sorry. All right, so psychological meaning, I just went through that. So this degree often shows up when people suddenly get something they couldn't articulate before. Teachers, elders, mentors, or frameworks suddenly make sense. The psyche allows guidance without feeling infantilized. The child isn't helpless. The mother is not controlling. This is wisdom transmitted through relationship. Collective effect. This is why people start connecting dots they couldn't see last month. Conversations feel like, wait, say that again. I've had so many of those moments lately. Podcast explanations, frameworks suddenly click. The public becomes more teachable and more discerning. Shadow expression, outsourcing thinking entirely, blind trust in a guide instead of internal integration, repeating insights without embodying them, and healthy expression, learning while moving, letting clarity build progressively, allowing complexity without paralysis. This degree says you don't need the whole staircase, you just need the next step. And then Mercury moves into the 10th through the 11th degree, Sagittarius, meaning gains confidence. So the 10th degree, a golden-haired goddess of opportunity is seen standing in a doorway. So Sabian symbols, if you don't know what they are, you can Google them. It's artwork. It's interesting. I love it. So this is a threshold degree. The mind is no longer searching randomly. It recognizes timing. Psychologically, this degree activates readiness, alertness, the sense that now matters. This is not urgency, it's attunement. Psychological meaning, thought sharpens, decisions feel consequential, the mind stops looping and starts orienting. This is where people say, I know when to speak now. This is the moment. I can't ignore this anymore. Collective effect, conversations accelerate, announcements land harder, timing becomes a theme, missed opportunities become visible. This is why people feel compelled to say something now. Silence feels heavier than speech, and the cost of avoidance becomes obvious. Shadow expression, impulsivity, saying yes too fast, confusing opportunity with pressure. Healthy expression is strategic speech, clear timing, and discernment without hesitation. This degree asks, will you recognize a doorway or walk past it because you're still thinking? Mercury at the 12th degree. The moral narrative crystallizes. So this is on December 21st, the winter solstice. Mercury will be at the 12th degree in Sag. So the Sabian symbol, the quotation is, a flag turns into an eagle that crows. This is one of the most declarative degrees in Sagittarius. Here, ideas stop being private thoughts and become public statements of orientation. The flag is identity, the eagle is perspective, and the crow is announcement. Psychological meaning, beliefs seek expression. The mind claims a vantage point. Truth wants a voice. This is not propaganda, this is self-definition. People no longer ask, what do I think? They are asking, what do I stand for? I just lost it. My gloves. All right, collective effect. Values become explicit. Alliances clarify. People signal their worldview clearly. This is why moral positioning intensifies. Silence is interpreted as stance. People stop softening their language. Shadow expression, preaching moral superiority, speaking at others instead of with them. Healthy expression, clear values without aggression, speaking truth without domination, owing perspective without demanding agreement. This degree teaches, if you see from above, speak from integrity, not ego. All right, so the Mercury arc, the arc of the 18th through the 21st. This is not scattered thinking. It's a 3-stage cognition initiation. Number 1, 9 Sagittarius, 9th degree, learning while moving. The 10th through the 11th degree of Sagittarius, recognizing the doorway. The 12th degree, Mercury and Sag, naming what you stand for. The mind learns, recognizes, and declares. And because this happens under a new moon in Sagittarius, near the winter solstice, December 21st, alongside the sun, moon, and Venus in Sagittarius, thought becomes destiny facing. Relational dynamic, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Mercury does not end the story, it passes it forward. Mercury asks, if this is true, how do I speak it? Venus responds, if this is true, how can I love within it? Mars later answers, if this is true, what must I build or end? This is choreography. This is why relationships feel verbally charged, truth forward, allergic to ambiguity, and unable to sustain polite dishonesty. People are not being dramatic, they are being accurate. Bottom line, Mercury in Sagittarius during the 18th through the 21st is not necessarily about facts. It's about orientation. That is a theme coming up with Sag, all the planets in Sag, 3i coming from Sag in the Galactic Center, the axis of our whole system here. The mind is trying to find a story that can survive winter, a truth that does not collapse under pressure, language that aligns with conscience. This is not noise. This is cognition preparing for consequence. And that's why what's said now, even casually, carries farther than people expect. The real relationship test of this transit. Mercury in Sagittarius tests relationships with one question. Can truth move through us without threatening the bond? If the answer is yes, the relationship deepens. Respect increases and trust strengthens. If the answer is no, conversations feel volatile, misunderstandings escalate, people feel suddenly incompatible. That is not failure, that's orientation revealing reality. Because Mercury isn't acting alone, it's speaking for a Sagittarius new moon, a sun at the edge of belief, Venus rewriting values, and Mars demanding embodied action, as well as 3iAtlas and Virgo, which Virgos, if y'all know a Virgo, they will freaking stand up for themselves and have solid ass boundaries. That is where 3i will be on the arc of the 18th through the 21st. Sorry, I'm wiggling. I'm trying to get this done. I'm tired and cold, and this is important. So I am not editing anything. I am just going with it. All right, so people aren't trying to hurt each other. They're trying to stop betraying themselves. Anchor line here. So in closing, Mercury in Sagittarius doesn't ask if a relationship feels good. It asks if it is honest. This is the kind of transit where attachment gets translated into language. People aren't becoming harsh, they're becoming congruent. Truth isn't breaking bonds right now, avoidance is. All right, so I think that's my entire video on Mercury. Let me make sure I've got tons of notes going on here. I'm going to exit everything out and do one quick glance over and make sure I didn't miss anything. I do want to go over Venus, Mars, Jupiter. I'm going to go through the rest of the planets, but not tonight. It's just too late and cold. All right, let me check my notes. Okay, so I did get through everything in almost an hour, so yay, I got it done. I'm so proud of myself. I did it. Good Lord. I cannot stand cold weather, so I am legit doing this because, like, I don't see anyone else talking like I am, and I'm really in a groove, and I'm really enjoying it, and hopefully you're really enjoying it. Also, I do all of my books. I don't know how many I have anymore online. I've got many, many, many books, ego books. Check out all of my books. I think I have 25 uploaded on my website. All of them are 33% off with the code Phoenix, Phoenix, Phoenix 33. All of my books and apparel. I have shirts, zip ups, I have computer case, what else? Stickers, all of the astro-psychological personality types. I have the ego stickers on there. Check that out. Like and subscribe. Certainly put your comment down below what you think, how you feel, what do you think of this information. Do you feel it? Do you see it? The news cycle is wild. I haven't watched mainstream news in 20 years, but I got sucked into the Charlie Kirk stuff. It's really fascinating actually because his whole business, like front facing, is political, trying to get young kids into politics. I've never listened to any of his stuff, so I don't really, all I know is from researching. I still have yet to listen to anything. I think he was probably popular with younger people. I'm a millennial, so at the front facing, it's political, but then in the back facing, you're like, wow, it's gets into religion, and then the deeper you dive, you're really in the thick of it. And I found it fascinating that it was a political and religious both ordeal with all of that. And Sagittarius, it's philosophy, it's religion, it's understanding different cultures, it's going on a journey mentally, not just physically, but also mentally. And yeah, there's a lot going on. I think a lot of people are, when was that? 2020. 2020 was a big wake up call with the COVID stuff. A lot of people came to during that time, and a lot of people are coming to this time as well. So yeah, collectively very fascinating. We are all, I've been researching and in this for over 2 decades now, so I'm not like a newbie. I'm by no means a rookie here. So this is a huge reason why I don't normally get into reading the current chart. Like I just, it's not really my thing. I'm foundational. I do the personality types, the ego, very foundational. I break down what each little tiny little cog in the system is. That's what I'm interested in. And yeah, but I don't know. It's a lot. So I'm excited to do the rest of my videos. This is it. I'm going to cap this one off, and I will see you in the next video.